Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is your host Ryan Staley, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have a Fivetime founder, Reena Gupta, and she is living proof of how a small town girl from India became a successful solo bootstrapped entrepreneur with no business background, advanced business degree, or connections. She's a Salesforce advisory board member, and at the same time, she's also a mentor and author of a brand new book called Career Interrupted. Reena, welcome. Happy to have you on the show.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, you know what? I have to tell you this. I am super pumped. I believe you are the first female founder that we've had on the show. So we need to get some
Awesome.
more. Yeah, you're the
I can
first.
get you connected to many more.
Oh, that'd
There's
be
no lack of
fantastic.
it. We just need to bring them in front.
That's awesome. So we'll definitely have to do that. So
Hmm.
what I would like to do is just kind of start off, and I kind of like to work backwards. So this is something new that I'm doing, and it was really cool on some of the previous
Hmm.
episodes that I've done. But can you just talk about, and I give a really high level about where you're at today, but you founded 5 companies, you're involved, on the advisory side for a Salesforce incubator, and then there's just so many other cool things that you're doing. So can you start with that? Because we were chatting about it a little bit before we jumped on,
Yeah,
so that everybody has an understanding of like where you're at today, and then we can kind of work backwards from there.
sure. So currently, I'm at a stage in my life that I really want to make an impact and want to pay it forward. So 3 years back, after selling my company, I started a program called Mom Relaunch, where my mission is to help women, all women, become financially independent. This is a very lofty mission, so we wanted to have a plan and strategy. So we started with the area that I know the best, like in IT, and I started training within IT. I'm pretty much working with Salesforce, so we started creating programs around Salesforce, and we found that there are many women who need help. So the program has now grown to multiple tracks, including IBM and digital marketing and project management, multiple areas. In addition to running the program, which we just became a foundation, which is a 501(c)(3) as well. So now hopefully we can get more support from the community to run the program instead of just bootstrapping my own passion. So I'm
Congrats,
looking forward.
congrats, it's big.
Thank you. It's big, and hopefully we can get more and more companies to put their money where their mouth is and go beyond the lip service. That's what my hope is. And in addition to that, I just also released a book called Career Interrupted because more and more I work with women. I just find that it's the career and the work life harmony is just not the problem only women are facing. There are people of every ethnicity, every gender, every geography, everyone is facing similar issues. And with the pandemic, which has become all the more clear that nothing is taken for granted, and almost everyone's career was interrupted. And that's how we created this book, and we started talking about people who are getting laid off, people who are in their career rut, or people who don't even know it's a good start time to start their family, and also people who are returning back or transitioning their career. And we walk them through the whole process of balancing their three-legged stool of their career, their family and friends, and their own wellness, and give them an actionable strategy to create one page work life canvas where they can make that accountable with a start date and end date of what works for them and how they are going to achieve their goal, what is their time period to do that. So it's a very actionable strategy book for people to be what they really want to be.
I love that. Yeah, and that was one of the life-changing moments that I had. This is about 6.5 years ago, where
Hmm.
I was so focused on my career. This is when I was in the corporate world. I was a VP and worked for a founder that was private equity owned, and he was very aggressive in terms of his expectations, which had some amazing byproducts. However, at the same time, what I realized is multiple times in my career, my life became completely lopsided. So if you're talking about that,
Yeah,
those 3 legs of the stool, career was like at a 7, and then like my friends and wellness and family were maybe at like a 2 or a 3,
yeah,
and I was miserable.
yeah.
So And I imagine the separation that everybody has too, that's been accelerated. Is that something that you've seen?
Yes, absolutely. See, the problem is like people, they think their life is in silo, and this is what I'm just going to focus. This is all I'm going to focus. And they take out time for vacations, they take out time for doing things, but there are things you can keep your life in harmony. You don't even always have to go on vacation to spend time with your family, right? So there are a lot of things that we talk about, simple things that we talk about. Just do, if people are married and they just do something surprising element for each other, there's so much that can be done, that brings in that joy. And trust me, the joy is not in big vacations, it's on the little things, it's everyday stuff that we do, everyday stuff that we talk to each other, be and support each other. So there's a whole chapter on family, friends, and extended support network, which is something I find it very um difficult to adjust, because I grew up in a family with 21 cousins. I had like that kind of joint family system. Everybody is like on each other, helping each other, learning from each other. And when you come here, you're just alone. And it's not that we coming as an immigrant, we feel alone there. It's just in general, the society here are very individualistic. So
Hmm.
having thinking about, and then the movies doesn't do any justice either. It is as if you're staying with your friends and family and relatives, as if you're in a in a very miserable state, right? So, but it could be all fun. And extended family, extended network and support, depending on each other, it's such a big deal. We don't realize this. We don't realize these human values. We don't value these things, and we always look for everything in dollar value. And I think that's very critical for people to understand. And unfortunately, almost everybody try to forget their own wellness. They don't realize that if they are not well, nothing will happen. And number one priority should be our own wellness. I teach, like, if you want to fix the whole problem of the world, just love yourself. Love yourself so much that you're not going to do anything bad to yourself. You're not going to be angry. You're not, just love yourself. That's the solution. So I talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So it's
I
amazing how things can be different.
That's a great point. Yeah, and I ran into that myself this year. I was pushing so hard, because this is my first full year starting a company, and I started to have all these chronic ailments that popped up, that I
Mm,
never had. I got vertigo. Like I've never
yeah.
had vertigo my entire life. I'm like, where's this coming from? So let's switch gears a little bit, because that was
It's
one of the
all
biggest mistakes I
stress. If
made.
you
What's
think
that?
about it, it's all stress building up, and it shows in different forms and different ways in different people. And then we just see vertigo, but we don't see the reason behind it. We don't go back and try to fix the root cause. The root cause that is really causing all those things is what we need to focus on.
Yeah. Oh, 100% alignment with you there. So let's talk about the five-time founder bit, because that's awesome and that's rare. And I love the fact that you bootstrap with like no business background. So first of all, let's start. Can you tell me the five companies that you founded, and then I have some follow-up questions for you there, but I think it would be great just like what the companies are, and then kind of what they've done, and then what problems they solve.
Yeah, so again, most of my companies are interconnected in the well sense, like how we operate. So my first company was Avankia, that I started as an IT consulting and staffing business. Then created product company called Target Recruit, which was for applicant tracking system built on Salesforce platform. Then came in, and to support all these things, I had to create a company in India for supporting all. So that was my third company. It's also called Avankia Software Private Limited. Then we also, another company is called DB Sync, which me and my husband both were involved earlier, but he's running it now completely. In fact, it was his brainchild that he started. I was just trying to support him through different my other companies that build integration between two different, like Salesforce and other platforms, and it is called as a platform as a service, integration as a service, that kind of thing. Then the book that I released, I started getting into the book business, and I started thinking about how to publish it or self-publish or go to publisher, and I didn't like both the options, so I started a company for publishing books. So that's
No
another
way.
one.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. You're like,
So
yeah, I don't like these
it's
publishing now. I'm just gonna start a new company.
yeah,
So
it's like
that's
it's called
fantastic.
Wisdosity. It's with the whole idea is that almost everybody has some wisdom to share, but this knowledge and wisdom is scattered. Let's figure out how to organize these wisdom. So that's Wisdosity, and I also helped my son start a company for this called Peersdom. Peersdom is for wisdom from peers, and he started when he was in high school for teaching financial literacy to students. My daughter is involved in the book business with Wisdosity as well. So, yeah, the whole family has, all four of us are founder and CEOs of our own, my husband, both my kids. And so it's an entrepreneurial gene flowing in here.
So that's cool. So you have the book business, the peer business kind of, and then which company is your husband in charge of?
DB Sync.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
That's an integration platform. Yeah.
Okay, that's the
So
integration
my
part.
husband is with DB Sync, my daughter is in Wisdosity, and my son is in Peersdom.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy. That's awesome. And then you
And
decided like,
yeah,
hey, let's do something else. Let's start a book. And then,
yeah, and
so
yeah, and my mom relaunch. Actually, I forgot to even mention that part. As like the mom relaunch is another business, and then it turned into foundation. So I just got foundation started. So that would add as the sixth one. So
wow.
so
That's impressive. Okay. So let's go back in time machine. How do you how did you get there? Like, I love the fact that you didn't come from any formalized background or anything like that. I mean, that was the path. I
right.
went through school and everything like that,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I didn't, and I've done that on the sales system side. It sounds like you've
Hmm.
repeatedly done that with companies, which I absolutely love. So,
Hmm.
how did that happen? Like, like in the
Very,
beginning,
very
where did you start?
interesting.
How did you
Yeah.
get there?
Very interesting story. I'll tell you that I never thought, in fact, I never thought even I'll have a career and all because I grew up in a family that didn't support career for girls. Interestingly, I got married to my husband who was very supportive, and I came here, saw the opportunity. I started working for consulting companies, and one of the companies that I was working for, it got sold. It was a startup company in Tennessee, and it got sold to McGraw Hill, and they laid off my position. And I was doing pretty well in 3 4 years. I was as a chief technical architect, so my career before also was progressing very well.
Hmm.
And then they let me go, and within a month they called me back. And when they called me back, and I said like I'm not coming back full time because I just had my son, and I came as an independent consultant. And I thought I'll just consult and just be happy with it. Never thought that I'll create. But then when I saw that they wanted to grow, I gave them a what they call at nowadays as some an offer that was irresistible for them because I said like, look, I designed the system. You want to grow it. I'm here as a consulting company. I will train people to come and work on your project and help you grow. And my first hire was of my own friend, a good friend who was a stay-at-home mom. So my mom relaunch idea started in 2003 with my own company. And I've seen her, trained her, and then she started working. She's doing extremely well now in her career. And then I grew my own independent consulting to make it as an IT staffing, just working on that project, just working with that client. And that I just focused for 1 year. And it grew pretty well because you're trying to scale a whole product area. And you're the only one who can train people. So they in nowadays sales, typical sales terminology they call it, and or give an irresistible offer to your client, and that's what it is. And I learned that just doing it. And then the I started branching out, started taking some projects, and just continue to grow. Then came with one of the clients I was working for. They said I bought Salesforce, and I really don't know what to do with it. So help us out. And the more I learned about Salesforce, the more I fell in love with it, and I just started to specialize. And at that time, it was still picking up, and I think we were very lucky to get on the bandwagon early. So that's and then continued with multiple projects, multiple products, DB Sync, Target Recruit, Mom relaunch, everything just started to come happen.
Well, and let me ask you this, because those are great things that you got involved. What year did you get involved with the Salesforce work?
2005. That was the year
Okay,
that I got into
trying to go
2005.
back. When did they? How big were they back then? Do you
1999.
remember?
No, very small
No idea.
compared. I think in
Oh, smart.
2001 they were even thinking if they are going to continue. If I'm wrong, not wrong on the date there, and they really turned around and came like amazing. So uh, I remember the first Dreamforce conference, about 5,000 people were there when we went, and now like it's over 150,000, and now virtually over a million people join in. So
Wow.
that's kind of crazy world to be in.
Oh yeah, it's really crazy. And then you do advisory work right now for their one of their incubators, correct?
Yeah, so of course I was the first alum of the first cohort. So it's about, they just bring in people who are who can add value. So they just bring in some advisory board, and that's kind of sharing their stories and all that. So that's in fact my next one of my next books is to write a book on entrepreneurs in Salesforce. So it's called
Oh,
Forcepreneurs.
that's awesome. Like, so what basically entrepreneurs inside of Salesforce or those that work with Salesforce?
No, who are in their ecosystem. So entrepreneurs like us, we are not at Salesforce, but we have built our companies around it, and it is an amazing ecosystem to be in. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, huge company, amazing partner ecosystem. So, like, if someone says, "Hey, Rena, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I want to partner with Salesforce. Now what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would
So
you tell
that
them?"
so first of all, I would go back and say, what do you want to do, and how do you want? What's your product? What's your idea? What do you want to build? Are you building a product, or you want to build a services, or you want to do something different? Are you so knowing what the company is going to do? Then there are different types of partnership. And is it just an idea that they want to scale only through Salesforce, or is it something that is in addition to Salesforce, for Salesforce, right? So there's not knowing, and then they can take the route of being incubated if they qualify, or they can work with other existing companies who can. But this is a ecosystem where I think partners like to help each other, and even though I've seen some competitions, but uh, it's very open minded. So I'm sure that companies who will come and thrive, they will find it get the similar experience as I had.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just like, is that dangerous to only partner and pick that lane where you're just working with Salesforce, or is there massive competitive advantage because your attention isn't split over multiple different partners?
So it depends on their product and services what they are building. So if their product just cater only to Salesforce audience and their customers, then just stick there. There's no need to expand. But if there are other customers that, like for example, when we were building the applicant tracking system, Salesforce was a platform, but we were reaching out to staffing companies, presenting them as a solution, and we were bringing deals to Salesforce. So, depending on, instead of just looking for companies to do their recruiting who are using Salesforce, we took a completely different route, but it was based on our solution, how it works.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that's great insight. And, that really, because I've seen folks do that with HubSpot as well, or
Mm-hmm.
other tech platforms where they're like, hey, we're only a HubSpot shop, but we
Mm-hmm.
do all these things in conjunction with
Yeah.
HubSpot, right? We're a
Mm-hmm.
HubSpot Platinum partner or whatever the ranking system is. So Rena, somebody comes up to you and asks you, it's like, hey, you've helped found 6 companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the 5-step process or 3-step process or whatever? What's the mental process you go through when
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to create product market fit and then scale that company? Like, what goes through inside your head, and how do you figure that out?
First thing is that goes inside the head is get over your fear of failure.
Hmm.
Um, people don't take the step because the number one reason is they are afraid of failure. And in one of the things that in my book that I talk about is um, assume that I call it as negative visualization. So assume that you are going to fail. You are
Mhm.
absolutely going to fail. Are you
Yeah.
prepared for it? Close your eyes and go through that emotional feeling and let your whole body go through that process and know that once you have gone through that feeling, if it, God forbid, if it really happens, that immediate knee jerk reaction won't happen. Okay, so being an entrepreneur, you have to be ready for anything. Entrepreneurship is not an easy path by any means. It seems like I kind of laugh when people say, "I can't work for a boss and I'm going to open my company because now every customer is your boss, every employee is your responsibility. You have to make sure that their family is fed before you can do something for yourself, right? That's the real entrepreneurship. You just can't just think about making money. You have responsibility, and if you can't do it for one boss and one product, forget about this. So the three things that you I always go back in is get over your fear of failure. Uh, Number two, have a very focused attention, and I use the term have a focus management. So when I was working on applicant tracking
I
system, I
love
could
that,
have
by the
used the
way.
same.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. I use that the exact term focus management. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that was fire. So I had to give you some props before I forgot. So focus management, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. And because people talk about time management, and in time management, everybody has 24 hours. But how do you put your focus and turn that 24 hours into 48 hours and more and find your productive self? That is very important. And third thing is, which I don't see many entrepreneurship things or sessions and things teach about, is the term I call it awareness. So the awareness is so important to what's happening around you, whether it is your employees, whether it is your product that is failing. I'm not saying that look into and keep competing with your competitors, because that doesn't help you. Listen to your customers and try to give them and serve them, because for every product there are going to be competitors. It's what is the value that you're adding, and that can be achieved only by being aware. That awareness will help you be a good boss, be a good employee, be a good customer, be a good vendor. That awareness will help you keep. So many times you see things about unconscious bias training going on, right? But what is it? It's just awareness. If you feel your customers are not happy, are you aware of their feelings? If you know that your employees are not happy, are you aware of that feeling, right? So boil down that whole idea of not trying to look into multiple eight things, grow that sense of awareness within yourself, and that will help you be a really good in every area, I would say.
Yeah, so I love that. So we got failure, knowing you are gonna fail, which is interesting. I literally last night just interviewed a head of product who's head of product at Zynga, and he
Mm-hmm.
was talking about he managed Farmville. He was responsible for Farmville, a product which had like
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion in revenue flow through it.
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, he was talking about, and then he's done a lot of other things, right? They were amazing, and I'm like, how did you like it just seemed like everything flowed smoothly for you. Like what? He's like, oh no, no, no. There's stuff we put out at
Yeah.
at Zynga that like we failed like 3 or 4 times in different so so I
Mm-hmm.
think that's absolutely amazing. And then focus management, I told you that was fire because literally with that's one of the things I help people move up market and basically close really large deals, 100,000,
Mm-hmm.
500,000, million, 10 million, $20 million deals with and implement a system to do that. And one of the hardest things that founders have is the focus management associated with that
Yeah.
because it's
Mm-hmm.
not a sales process that closes in like a month. It might close in like
Mm-hmm.
9 months or 10 months or 12
Yeah.
months, right? So I love
Mm-hmm.
that. And then, round it out with awareness is just really being in tune with what's happening, how you're perceived, feedback you're
Yeah.
getting so that you create value. So that was my quick recap. I think that's absolutely awesome. So let's keep going forward, and basically, like if you look at it, I love the fact that you're giving back, and I love that you have like a mental framework that you kind of not put people through, but use yourself to get
Mm-hmm.
there. Anything else that you think is absolutely amazing on the strategy side or tactic side that has proven to be really effective for you time in and time out?
Yeah, so I have learned through the hard way of course, with my own experience and a lot of other things around how important it is to believe in myself. And I use the term to love myself more than anything else, because
Hmm.
if I love myself, I'm not going to do any bad stuff. I'm not going to eat any bad stuff. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to lose my mental strength to because someone else didn't made a mistake, right? We all go through this cycle, but at the end we realize that if we want to be really happy, if we want to be really successful, and one of the chapters in my book is compares what is happiness versus success. So, and definition of success and happiness, everything is different for different people. But the end goal is no matter what we do, we all want to be happy. We all want to feel good about our lives. We all want to be feel. So, anything that you do, anywhere, at least I have made a mantra is like, if anything bothers me or anything, I have a thing like I'm going to create a shield around me. It's whatever happens is just stays outside that shield. You know those superhuman people, they create that that superpower. So that is
Yeah, the force
I
field.
have created that as a superpower for myself. Is like no matter what it is, it's that's going to protect me. And I have like an action thing is like, oh, something is bothering, I'm going to just get back into my shield, and it just goes flows away. So a lot of these things that happens, it doesn't happen in a day. We have made our mistakes, we have gone through our own ups and downs, and to come to a point and then realize that everything that we do is all fun, it's all temporary, it's all going to uh, be not there one day. So just
Yeah.
be happy, do whatever it is. And the work that I'm doing with Mom Relaunch, the moment I see anyone getting relaunched, the happiness, the smile that I see on their face, it just gives a little different. It's very different as compared to making sales in the business. You know what I'm saying? It's just a very different
Hmm.
feeling.
Yeah, it's got
So
to feel good because of the impact that you're making for that.
yeah,
So
exactly,
love
exactly.
that. Okay, we're gonna do some fast fire questions to round things out
Mm-hmm.
because we're just about up on time, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how fast time was going. We just kind of cruised through it. You can tell you have like a peaceful soul. Like as you're talking, you're so calm and just smooth, and it's like I need to have a little of that. Maybe lay off the caffeine a little bit, Ryan. I don't know what it is, something
Yeah.
like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, so fast fire. Okay, who's the if you had to say who's a top founder that you follow or look up to?
I wouldn't say as a founder, but one person that I always like to at least once in a lifetime get to meet and just be in her company is Melinda Gates. For
Mm,
some reason, I'm super impressed with how. I mean, of course, with the recent things, that's a completely different thing. But she's one of the person that I really look up to.
that's great. Okay, what's the best book you've read over the past few years?
I like a book called Rework. That was when I had running my companies. There was a time when I said, should I go for funding? Should I not go for funding? And then I read that book, and that kind of said, I think what I'm doing, I'm happy and I'm fine. And they also they have been a bootstrapped business and they're doing well. And I think that was one of my go-to business books. But I do read a lot of other books, especially around spirituality and other things that I'm part of, art of living. And another interesting thing that I'm reading nowadays is an ancient teaching of a very wise scholar called Chanakya.
Hmm.
And he was one of the he was a kingmaker, so his teachings are still very relevant. So I
Wow,
mean, a few areas of books that I do read.
that's awesome. Okay, what's your favorite tool in business that you couldn't live without? that you use?
Live without, or sorry, I didn't
You
hear your
couldn't live
question.
without. Like, what's your favorite business tool that you use?
Just breathe. That's cannot. I literally cannot live without, and I literally use it in practicality. If I'm angry, just breathe. If I'm not going through finding a solution, just breathe. That is the technique that I have, and I
Oh,
think that has worked.
so what do? You just you take a couple deep breaths, or what do you mean by
So
that exactly?
so breathing, if you look into it, that's the first thing we do when we get born. That's the last thing we do when we die. And the whole thing that I have learned in my journey with art of living is there's some tools called Sudarshan Kriya, and we do rhythmic breathing, and we do some pranayams and all those things. But what it does, it brings your mind a bit of clarity to make the right decision and
Mm.
think through this. So it helps you respond, not react. So if you don't know what your answer is, just close your eyes, breathe. And in fact, I told you that I teach entrepreneurship to high school students. First thing I do is before I start the class, I say 5 minutes. Everybody is just focused on breathing. They come to a class, 5 minutes of breathing session, and that's it. And then I call it as get into the receiving mind. So the tool that I use is just breathe. I'm
I
sorry
love
if you
that.
it sounds crazy, but that's the tool that we all have. We just don't use it.
I meditate every day, so I totally
Mm-hmm.
get the benefits of that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I sometimes I notice when I'm going too fast, I don't stop and do that. So that's a great
Mm-hmm.
reminder. So
Yeah.
we are up on time, but where can people get Career Relaunch? Where can they find
Yeah.
more about you, the programs you're working on? Can you share with
Yeah.
us? And then we'll put it in the show notes as well, so everybody could take a look.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my a quick website, reenagupta.com, but you can also get my book at careerinterrupted.net or momrelaunch.com, or soon it will be .org because of my foundation. So anywhere you can, and I'm always at LinkedIn as well. So anywhere people can find me. So
Excellent. And yeah, I say career relaunch. I meant career interrupted or mom relaunch. I mixed the
well,
two.
yeah,
I put them in a blender
that's
and
okay.
mixed the two. So I apologize for that. So
No
listen to her and
worries.
not me. She's got it correct. So I apologize, but it was awesome having you on the show. Totally love
Mhm.
the, kind of, it was almost like a Zen Buddhist, like relaxation session I just had with you. So
Oh my God. I don't
I
know if
hope
it
you
was
guys
for your business audience, but that's it.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm sure you, the listener, appreciates it too. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.